Pep Guardiola is gone. 10 years, 6 Premier League titles, a treble, and a squad so perfectly drilled in his methods that the players didn't just follow instructions, they became the instructions. Now Enzo Maresca has signed a 3-year deal to replace him. This isn't a normal managerial appointment. This is one of the hardest jobs in world football. So what actually changes, and can Maresca make it work? Let's break it all down. The Guardiola inheritance. Before we talk about Maresca, we need to understand exactly what he's walking into. Because the challenge here isn't just tactical, it's psychological. Guardiola's City was built on one core idea: positional play. Every player on the pitch had a specific zone to occupy. When City had the ball, they didn't just pass it around randomly. They moved into very precise positions that stretched the opposition, created passing lanes, and forced the other team to make decisions they didn't want to make. The players at City don't just know their position. They know their position relative to every other player on the pitch at any given moment. That level of understanding takes years to develop. It becomes muscle memory. So when a new manager arrives with his own ideas, the first question isn't, will his tactics work? The first question is, will the players be able to unlearn what they've spent a decade learning? That's the real challenge Maresca faces before he's even drawn a single shape on a tactics board. Who is Enzo Maresca? If you haven't followed Maresca closely, here's what you need to know. He's Italian. He played as a midfielder for clubs like West Brom and Fiorentina, and he spent time training directly under Guardiola at Manchester City as part of the coaching staff. That last part is important. Maresca didn't just study Guardiola from the outside, he was inside the building. He watched the sessions, he understood the language. He knows what positional play looks like from the inside out. Before taking the City job, he managed Leicester City in the Championship and won promotion to the Premier League in his first season. His Leicester side played with a clear identity: high possession, structured build-up, and a very specific way of moving the ball out from the back. It wasn't a copy of Guardiola, but it had the same DNA. That's actually what makes him an interesting appointment. He's not a complete outsider trying to impose a foreign system. He's someone who understands the language City already speaks, but has his own dialect: Maresca's build-up pattern. Here's where it gets tactical, and this is the part that will define his first season at City. Maresca likes to build from the back with a very structured shape. At Leicester, he used a back three in possession, where one of the central midfielders would drop between the two centre-backs to create a 3-man base. This gave his team stability when building out, and it allowed the fullbacks to push very high up the pitch and act almost like wingers. The idea is simple. You overload the first line of the opposition press with numbers. If the other team sends 2 forwards to press, you have 3 defenders at the back to play through them. That extra man creates the passing angle that breaks the press. Now here's the question: can he do that at City? The answer is yes, but with adjustments. City already have the personnel for this. Rodri, before his injury, was the master of dropping between centre-backs to receive the ball. Manuel Akanji and Ruben Dias are both comfortable on the ball. The foundation is already there. Maresca doesn't need to rebuild it. He just needs to refine it in his own image. The Haaland Problem. This is the biggest tactical puzzle Maresca has to solve, and it's not a small one. Erling Haaland is the best pure striker in the world right now. He scores goals at a rate that defies logic. But here's the thing. Guardiola's system wasn't always built around a traditional number 9. For large parts of his City tenure, Guardiola used a false 9, a player who drops deep and creates space, rather than staying high and finishing chances. Haaland doesn't do that. He stays high. He wants the ball in the box, he wants to run in behind. And that creates a tension with positional play because when your striker is always making runs in behind, the spaces he leaves can disrupt the structure of the whole team. Guardiola managed this by essentially building a second system around Haaland. City would still play their positional game, but they added direct balls over the top as an extra weapon. It worked, but it required incredible discipline from every other player to maintain the structure while also feeding Haaland. Maresca will face the exact same challenge. His Leicester side didn't have a player like Haaland. His system was built around fluid movement and interchanging positions. Now he has a 6'4" Norwegian who wants to stand on the last defender's shoulder and score goals. The smart move is to keep Haaland exactly where he is and build the system around him rather than trying to change him. Use the positional play to create the spaces and then use Haaland as the finisher at the end of the move. Don't ask him to be something he's not. Let the system do the work and let Haaland do what Haaland does. Phil Foden's new role. If Haaland is the biggest puzzle, Phil Foden is the most exciting opportunity. Under Guardiola, Foden was used in multiple positions: left wing, right wing, false nine, number 8. He's one of those rare players who can genuinely play anywhere across the front line and in midfield, but his best football came when he had freedom, when he was allowed to drift inside, find pockets of space, and arrive late into dangerous areas. Maresca's system could unlock a version of Foden we haven't fully seen yet. In Maresca's build-up structure, the wide players are given license to come inside and combine in tight spaces. The full-backs push high to provide the width, which means the wingers don't have to hug the touchline. They can drift centrally, which is exactly where Foden is most dangerous. Picture this: City are building from the back. The full-back pushes high on the left. Foden drifts inside from the left wing into the half space, that dangerous zone between the opposition's defensive line and their midfield. He receives the ball, plays a quick combination, and arrives into the box just as the move reaches its final phase. That's not a new idea, but with Maresca's structure providing the framework, Foden could become the most important player in the team, not just a contributor. The engine, the midfield transition. One of the biggest differences between Guardiola's City and what Maresca will build is how the midfield transitions from defence to attack. Guardiola's midfield was built on control. Rodri sat deep and protected the back four. Kevin De Bruyne operated as a box-to-box presence who could both defend and create. The whole midfield was designed to maintain possession and recycle the ball patiently until the right moment to attack appeared. Maresca's midfield at Leicester was slightly more aggressive in transition. He liked his midfielders to press higher up the pitch when the opposition had the ball, and to transition quickly into attack the moment possession was won. It was more vertical, more direct in those transition moments. At City, this could be a significant upgrade in certain games. Against teams who sit deep and try to absorb pressure, Guardiola's patient build-up was perfect. But against teams who press high and leave space in behind, a quicker transition could be devastating. The key player in this shift will be whoever plays the Rodri role. With Rodri still recovering from injury, City will need someone to anchor the midfield and give Maresca's system the stability it needs. Without that anchor, the whole structure becomes vulnerable. Defensive shape and high line? Here's something that doesn't get talked about enough when people discuss Maresca. His teams defend well. At Leicester, his side kept a high defensive line and pressed aggressively from the front. The idea was to win the ball high up the pitch and immediately turn defence into attack. It's a high-risk, high-reward approach. If the press works, you win the ball in dangerous areas and create chances. If it doesn't work, you're exposed in behind. City under Guardiola also used a high line, but it was more controlled. The press was more structured. Players knew exactly when to press and when to hold their shape. Maresca will likely keep the high line at City because the squad is built for it. The centre-backs are quick enough to deal with balls in behind. Ederson is comfortable sweeping up outside his box. The infrastructure is already there, but the press triggers, the moments that tell the team when to press and when to hold, will need to be reprogrammed. That's a training ground job. It takes weeks, sometimes months to get right. And in the Premier League, you don't get months to figure it out. The games come fast and the margins are tiny. The first season reality check. Let's be honest about something. No matter how good Maresca is, the first season will be a transition. That's not a criticism, it's just reality. When a manager with a very specific system takes over a squad that has been trained in a different specific system for 10 years, there will be friction. There will be moments where the players revert to old habits. There will be games where the shape looks confused and the pressing looks disorganised. This happened when Guardiola first arrived at City. His first season was good but not dominant. It took time for the players to fully absorb his ideas, and those were players who hadn't been trained in a completely different system for a decade beforehand. Maresca has the advantage of knowing the City environment. He has the advantage of a squad with incredible quality, and he has the advantage of a system that isn't completely alien to what City already do. But the expectation at City is to win the Premier League, to compete in the Champions League, to win trophies. And that pressure doesn't wait for a manager to find his feet. The first season will tell us everything about whether this appointment was a masterstroke or a gamble. Why this could actually work? Here's the thing that gets lost in all the tactical analysis. Maresca isn't trying to replace Guardiola. Nobody can replace Guardiola. What he's trying to do is build something new on top of the foundations that Guardiola left behind. The squad is still elite. The training facilities are still the best in the world. The ownership still backs the manager with resources. The culture of winning is still embedded in every player in that dressing room. Maresca brings a fresh voice, a clear tactical identity, and a genuine understanding of what made City great. He's not walking in blind. He's walking in with a plan. His build-up patterns suit the players City have. His use of wide players suits Foden. His direct approach in transition suits Haaland. His defensive structure suits the backline. The pieces fit. Not perfectly, not yet, but they fit. And in football, that's all you need to start building something special. The rest is time, trust, and the willingness to keep working until the system clicks. Maresca has all three. Now he just has to prove it on the pitch.